Welcome to the channel. Today we break down the explosive closing statement at a congressional hearing where the ranking member confronted Homeland Security Secretary Christy Nome with accusations of violating the Constitution, ignoring Supreme Court orders, and weaponizing DHS at the expense of American safety. The ranking member begins by reminding Secretary Nome that she took an oath to tell the truth, and accuses her of breaking it throughout the hearing. He says DHS has been dodging facts, misleading Congress, and hiding behind procedure instead of taking accountability. He then delivers a shocking allegation that DHS is violating the Fifth Amendment right to due process by detaining residents in foreign prisons without legal hearings or judicial oversight.
Secretary Nome, at the start of this hearing, you stood here and took an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Then you sat down and dodged the truth over and over and over for a little more than 3 hours. So help you God. You repeatedly testified that you and the Department of Homeland Security will follow the Constitution, the laws, and the order of the Supreme Court. Well, the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution says that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And yet, a federal court found that the Department of Homeland Security, under your watch, believes that it has a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process. So you did not tell the truth to this committee today when you said you would follow the Constitution and comply with due process. You also testified that you follow orders of the Supreme Court.
He cites the case of Kilmar Garcia, a man the Supreme Court unanimously ordered to be returned to the United States, yet he remains stuck abroad. He says DHS is refusing to follow the highest court in the land. The statement intensifies.
Of the United States and all courts, but the Supreme Court unanimously directed the government to facilitate the return of Kilmar Garcia to the United States. But you just testified before this committee that Kilmar Garcia will never return to the United States. So you didn't tell the truth to this committee again when you said that you comply with court orders and decisions.
The member claims DHS has deported American citizen children without their parents' consent, including sick and vulnerable kids. He says families were lied to, told they had ICE appointments, only for their children to be secretly put on planes before any court hearing could happen.
You've overseen the deportation of U.S. citizen children and have claimed that their parents chose to take their children with them. But you produce no evidence that the mother, let alone both parents of those children, freely gave consent to have their children deported from the United States. In fact, everyone involved in those cases say that the mothers, in fact, did not want their children, especially their sick American children, deported. In fact, your agency lured families to ICE appointments under false pretenses, lied to them, refused to let them speak with an attorney or children's father, and deported them before a court had time to even hear the case. You've given yourself the unilateral right to deport anyone you deem a threat. You refuse to comply with court orders that try to stop you. That puts all of us at risk.
The ranking member attacks DHS's budget, claiming it has been reduced to border walls and deportation buses. Meanwhile, core missions like cybersecurity, CISA, FEMA disaster response, aviation safety, and emergency preparedness are being defunded, understaffed, or ignored. He warns that cyber threats from nations like China are rising, yet DHS leadership is cutting cyber defense personnel while pretending CISA is a censorship agency. He says DHS has lost key staff across FEMA and CISA through layoffs, resignations, even bullying. leaving America more vulnerable to cyber attacks, hurricanes, wildfires, and other disasters.
Beyond your false testimony about the administration's deportation policies, you falsely stated that the administration is focused on a full range of DHS's missions. Instead, your budget request appears to reflect a view that DHS's sole purpose is to be a border wall construction agency that deports U.S. citizen children with cancer. Your budget proposed cuts to cybersecurity, emergency preparedness, and aviation security. Even before asking Congress for these budget cuts, you've overseen mass reductions in the workforce at CISA and FEMA. Despite repeated requests from this committee on how many people have been fired or have been bullied into quitting before their tenure, DHS has refused to share that information.
The ranking member ends with this warning. Secretary Nome, stop dancing around the truth. Stop hiding behind procedure. Work with Congress, or you will be remembered not for securing America, but for weakening it.
And you've made clear in response to my questioning, you have no written plans for FEMA. It is very apparent that also is no plan for CISA, where you are trying to gut the agency's funding and falsely claiming that CISA is a censorship agency. Since CISA never censored anyone, but now we are all paying the price for you buying into a baseless conspiracy theory. Secretary Nome, I'm glad that you finally came to testify before this committee, but I'm disappointed, along with a lot of my Democratic colleagues, that you stood here and took an oath to tell the truth, then repeatedly failed to do so to this committee. Let me just say, if you dance with the devil long enough, he's liable to follow you home. I hope that you will stop dancing around the truth and start telling the truth so this committee can do its work, helping to defend DHS from the attacks you've launched against it.
If you believe government should answer to the people, subscribe, like, and share. This is accountability. This is truth. This is democracy in action.